Dina has a beautiful video on internet on about how the Hindu scholar is scholar of the scriptures is talking about why there is no mention about using milk anywhere in our Indian scriptures. So have a look at that video. Dina also does many other videos on in Gujarati and in English about cow milk. Do you all have any questions till she joins? Any questions, you're welcome to put it on the chat. If you all want me, I can also unmute some of you so that we can continue the conversation. The purpose of getting Dina over here was only one, that across the globe, the problem is the same, whether we are in India or it's in UK. And there are two stages. There are people who are quiet vegans or say silent vegans, but there are also vegans who are very active. You know, they want to speak up for the animals, and they don't want to keep quiet. They really want to go around doing activism. They want to tell people about the whole story. And as soon as someone takes the trouble to tell the whole story, you know, there someone goes vegan, someone decides, makes the informed choices. So this is the purpose. There's a question here saying that disease is being reversed. So diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, PCOD, all these diseases, I have seen them getting reversed as soon as you go completely whole food plant-based diet. I'm a doctor and I run my practice, and last 10 years, this is what I'm doing. I inspire people to go vegan for health reason, but as soon as I hear about animal and their stories, my heart goes out to them, and I don't want to be a party to hurt them. All of us are vegan in our heart. I always say that vegan souls are already born, and as soon as they hear the first word we, they go vegan, because all of us are, you know, compassionate being. None of us want to ever know that we are the party to hurt anyone. So as soon as you know that you have become unknowingly a party to some pain or some suffering somewhere, you can stop it. The choice is yours. Dina, go on. You were telling us the story about uh, you being lawyer and how you gave up your profession, and then how you decided to take it to the ultimate and really become very active and tell the story to the world.
Yeah, so when I decided that I didn't want to practice in the area that I was practicing in, ultimately I was making rich people get richer. I decided to leave, and I made the decision to work very part-time so that I could then dedicate more time to the animal rights movement. And in fact, because of the, I suppose, legal skills that I have, as well as the teaching skills, because I have been teaching at different universities for a long time, I decided to utilize those skills to benefit the animals. And so by giving all the talks that I give, by running the campaigns that I am running, I am still utilizing a lot of those skills, the power of persuasion, the ability to articulate yourself, the ability to withstand pressure, and questions. All of these things you learn as a lawyer. I am just using it for a different purpose. And rather than getting paid for it, I suppose at night I am sleeping better knowing that, you know, any little thing I am doing, I hope I am making it better for the animals one day. So yeah, that is my life at the moment. It's very hectic, it's very busy, in different cities all the time, giving different talks from one end of the country to the other. But it is great because people are inviting me to do these talks, which means people are opening themselves up to hearing what I have to share about the dairy industry as well. So that's a positive.
Yeah, that's really very, very nice to know that you, from where do you get all this energy?
I suppose I've never really given myself so freely and so selflessly to anything or anyone like how I have given to this cause. And I suppose when you realize that you are just one speck of dust in this bigger cosmos, when you realize that you are not that important and that there is actually something so much more important. There are all these other lives, these other beings who are suffering, and that you can, through your little ways, do something about it. You get that energy. And you know, that's not to say I don't feel tired, or I don't feel down, or I don't sometimes feel sad. I feel those things all the time, but every time I even get a glimpse of the suffering out there, I get this surge of energy all over again, that I have to do more. I have to keep going. I must keep going. For them, I have to do it. When you're doing something selflessly for another being or other beings, you get the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you also have more people helping you?
I do, yes. So there are some really amazing activists here in the UK who run, you know, various campaigns. A lot of activists who join me when I run my campaigns, and they will tirelessly work with me side by side, talking to the public and raising awareness. So I certainly don't do it on my own, and I can't do it on my own because you know, I am just one person, and without everybody else that helps me, you know, the campaigns and everything I do would not benefit the animals in the way that they do.
Absolutely. There's a Bhupesh has put in the chat a note saying that kids understand faster than adults, and it's difficult to live for milk for them. Children. Your experience with children, Dina?
Yeah, I actually I have given a couple of talks to community centers that have children that come there, and children are like animals. They're very pure at heart and very innocent until they maybe get to a certain age. And children, I think, naturally, like adults, like us all as humans, we all, and you were talking about this earlier, Dr. Shah, about we all have compassion in our hearts. I think it's innate. We are all born with it. And then as you get older, life perhaps and experiences paint the compassion that we show, whereas children, it's more raw and it's more fresh. And I found children to be very open to the talks and the discussions, and they want to learn more. They want to really absorb this information because they don't have the same barriers. They don't have the same filters that we as adults have. They haven't been contaminated by life. They really are open to taking in the information. And ultimately, the way I look at it is, if you gave a child a little chick or a chicken to play with, and if you gave a child an apple, which one is it going to put in its mouth? And naturally, the child will go for the apple to put in its mouth. So children already know that we are not supposed to be eating animals. We are not supposed to be exploiting them in the way that we do. It's unfortunate that because children have been given milk from day one, after their mother's breast milk, you know, they are not weaned off. They are continually given milk. And I think this is where we as vegetarian, we, you know, as vegans who are trying to educate the vegetarian community will struggle, because milk is seen as such a normal part of the diet. But I think the minute you start telling a child exactly what happens to a cow and what happens to a baby cow, the calf, you know, the children are really, really moved by that information. They really get affected by it, and they don't want to cause that pain. So I agree with Bhupesh Bhai that, you know, it is difficult, I suppose, for adults to leave milk, but easier for children. But of course, the adults need to support the children in giving up the milk as well, because the children cannot just go and get the plant-based milks themselves.
Over here, we have started a program called as Ahimsa Pathshala. It's like a little workshop, you know, and we do it in the various Jain communities where children come and learn something about Ahimsa. And there we have to strictly mention that we are not going to tell children about not to drink milk. Otherwise, they won't even allow us any entry, you know. So we are not telling children about leaving milk or anything. We are just inspiring them about ahimsa. And we
Right.
just do various little activities because parents are really very afraid, you know, that if we tell them, then they'll come home and they think we are brainwashing. So
Yeah.
for us, we understand that though we approach children, the parents rule. So some of the children, like we had a young vegan boy, he was 14, and it was very hard, you know, for parents. He fighting parents all the time, and parents said that only when you become an adult you make your choice. Not then. Until then, you listen to us.
Right.
So this kind of conflict. Of course, the revolution has to start with the women in the house. One, if men come home and say that I will not have milk, that doesn't work. You have to also convince the kitchen queen. Otherwise, she'll say, I am not going to double cook.
Right.
I won't make separate for you and me. You eat what I've made, or you don't eat what I have made. Doesn't matter, and you won't get any more replacements or anything like that.
Right.
Bhupesh bhai, what do you say also? Your experience? We have to help people, women first. That's why we have started many cooking demos here, because we understand we have to teach them, change their kitchen completely, make them eat very tasty food, and then hopefully they will begin. And
Yeah.
after attending sometimes 1 dozen classes, still, you know, you go home and, you know, may not implement all of the changes. So
Right.
deeply milk is, you know, in our own psyche. What about exposure to, you know, college students and all?
Yes, I mean, there are some great activists who go and talk to universities, colleges. In fact, some of the colleges have their own vegan groups and vegan societies, which the actual students run themselves. So it's quite active within the education system. But similar to what you have said, you know, we have to be very careful with how we speak to the students, because the minute we are seen to be telling them that you mustn't do this or you must do this or this is right, this is wrong, then, you know, of course we are seen to be brainwashing them as well. And I think it's educating them in a way that allows them to come to their own decisions, come to their own compassionate decisions. And I think I always say one thing, that, you know, I will present the information and then I will say, now it is up to you to decide with your, we all have a moral compass inside our hearts. And it's like, where does your moral compass sit now with what I have told you? And then they go off and, you know, even if you have planted one seed, you don't know what may come up from that seed, especially with the younger adults.
Wonderful. Dina, you wanted to show us some pictures and some of the video. Do you want to share
Yeah,
your screen and then show it to
I'll
us?
share my screen.
Yeah.
So I have just put this together. It just shows you a little bit about some of the work that I have been involved in. I will talk you through it. So for those of you who perhaps do not know, on Facebook and on my YouTube channel, I am known as Imperfectly Vegan. And one of the reasons I chose this name is because I think veganism is very much a journey, and, you know, everybody, once they make the first step, you know, they will realize that there are so many ways that we can become more and more vegan, from just not just the food that we eat, but from perhaps the clothes we wear to the way we choose to travel, to how much we decide to consume, how many things we buy. There's so many different ways of being more vegan. So there's no such thing as the perfect vegan, and there's no end destination. You just keep learning more and more ways of being more vegan. So at the beginning, I started a lot of my campaigning with doing food demos as well. And you can see me there doing, I think I am making a Sri Lankan dal there, and just showing people how to make a very simple vegan Sri Lankan dal with coconut milk. Um, And then I began to run some stalls where we would have like markets in the city, and we would run these stalls, like vegan stalls, and we would show you know, all the different vegan chocolates and treats that you can buy, and you know, t-shirts that would have slogans on them. And then I began doing the talks. So this is one picture from a talk I think I did maybe 2 years ago to a group of people about why being vegetarian is not enough. Another talk I did some months ago, again, about why being vegetarian is not enough. On the one side of the screen, I was invited to the BBC radio station to sit on a panel of interviews talking about veganism. And then you can see on the other side, there is a documentary maker that is making a documentary about my work. She is a film producer, and she has been following my work for almost a year now. And that's a picture of her just interviewing me outside where I've been doing some campaigning. This is me here. Somebody captured this very nicely. This was a festival, Yat Yatra festival that happened here in Leicester in the UK, where the Hare Rama Hare Krishna had their procession, and I'm giving one of my leaflets to one of the priests about the realities of the dairy industry, and he took it from me. It was nice of him to take that. I'm not sure he knew what I was giving, but he took it anyway. So again, we have quite a few Asian melas, like markets that we run here. Last time I did a ditch dairy stall there. It was very busy. That's just at the beginning of the day, where we had so many leaflets and information. Some of the posters there, they are in Gujarati as well. So a lot of the Gujarati population in Leicester can hear it or read it. And this picture is, I mentioned earlier on the panel, the Hindu Dharma and animal rights I sat on, and that is Acharya Ji, who was Skyped in via Skype from Switzerland, and he was sharing, we were sharing the platform together. These are just a few newspaper articles that I found. The one on my left, which is milk, not in my cup of tea, that came into the newspaper recently. And it's basically highlighting the realities of the dairy industry. So I wrote this feature. And then one of my other campaigns is the Circle of Remembrance, where we sit in silence and we meditate and we remember all the animals that have died unnecessarily for food. So it's a silent protest. And I recently did one in London. This is the one that I did in Leicester a few months ago. That's the one I did in London. It was very busy there. We had about 45 people, all sat in a big circle, lots and lots of people to talk to. It was right in the middle of central London. Now, these last few pictures, I talked about the work I do at the slaughterhouse. So this is us stopping the truck. Behind us is the actual slaughterhouse where they slaughter the cows. And here we are stopping the trucks because we want to just say goodbye to the animals, to say goodbye to the cows and send the cows love and compassion. This is a big truck where it was full of baby calves in this truck. There was about 30 male calves, byproducts of the dairy industry, and they were being slaughtered at this stage. It's very, very sad and quite traumatic part of the activism that I do. Just some pictures of the cows inside the trucks before they are taken to be slaughtered.